Hey everyone, Quietly Turning here. I'd like to use this video to communicate three things. One, I'd like to give a transparent update on the status of dance game hardware at the space, both where it's at right now and what sorts of projects I see being necessary in the upcoming months. Two, the space recently celebrated its 1-year anniversary, so I've been renting this space for 1 full year as of August 2024, and I want to take a moment to talk about that. And number three, I'd like to talk about the future of the space. So let's jump in. Let's start with an overview of where the dance game hardware at the space is as of today, August 15th, 2024. Starting off, there's a set of Pump It Up pads attached to a TV and a set of bookshelf speakers. There's a set of classic DDR pads connected to a traditional K-cab style cab. There's a second set of DDR pads connected to a homebrew sort of cab. There is an ITG cab with a missing set of pads, more on that in a moment. And there's a second set of ITG pads that are slightly disassembled, along with an ITG cab that is also slightly disassembled. Again, more on that in a moment. The Pump It Up pads are in pretty good condition. I've got them modded to my liking, and I think they're at an appropriate level for everyone that's playing here as of right now. The computer is running Pump Sanity, which is a Stepmania derivative. I have the hardware to run Pump It Up XX official. It needs a little bit of work, and I'd like to use the month of September to do some of that. That's going to involve some soldering wires, some circuit boards, but I think end of September to be running that is a reasonable goal. That would also free up the PC for other uses. The classic DDR pads and cab work pretty well. This runs an official 573 computer, which can run third mix through DDR Extreme, including Max and Max 2. It can also run Disney Mix. We also have a working Python 2, which could run Supernova or Supernova 2 at request. So if any of those games, 3rd, 4th, 5th, Max, Max 2, Extreme, or Disney Mix, Supernova or Supernova 2 sounds interesting, something you'd like to play, please, give me a shout out and we can swap that in for a meeting. But I'd say overall this cab is working about as well as I'd hope. These DDR pads are much newer. I just purchased them recently and they just came back from powder coating last week. If you'd been to last week's meetup, you would have seen me and a few other people sort of speed running the assembly of these. These do need a bit more work, honestly, so there's some parts that haven't come in, some triangle spacers, some new arrow panels, some decals along the sides of the pads. Just with the amount of time to ship all those parts in, I would anticipate that this won't be ready for play for another month, but possibly in late September or early October, I think, to be using this DDR setup could be reasonable. This ITG cab is working about as well as I could hope, and the pads went out to help out at the Beast in the East tournament last weekend, and it's unclear when I'm going to get them back. I suspect I'm going to need to make a trip with a truck to get them. So, furthermore, the pads themselves are still in somewhat rough shape. They're quite rusty, and I'd been hoping to get them sandblasted and powder coated before they went off to Beast in the East, so that sort of delayed that a bit more. With all that being said, since the pads need to be disassembled, I need to get them, I need to bring them back, then I need to disassemble them, then I need to get them to the business. I think it's reasonable to think that it could be playable before the end of 2024. Finally, these pads, the internals were pretty rusty, so they're out being blasted and powder coated and could be back by the end of September. The cabinet itself is slightly disassembled. I'm still missing some parts from it that I need to acquire somehow. Some of it just needs to be put back together. So for example, the button board is missing, but I have it right there. I need to reattach these. I need to attach the marquee. There's small amounts of projects that need to be done to this. I need a way to mount the monitor more securely inside. I'm going to need to cut a custom piece of acrylic and print a new bezel graphic around that so that we're not seeing the exposed wood. This stand goes further outside of the upper monitor chassis that I can allow, so I'm going to have to get a Visa mount and mount it inside. There's a fair amount of work that needs to be done to this cab, but it is reasonable to think that this setup could be playable by late October. So yeah, that's where the dance game hardware at the space is as of right now, and where the next couple months are going to take me. But in summary, I think every machine here, the Pump It Up, 2 DDR, and 2 ITG, I think it's reasonable to say that all of them will be complete and done before the end of 2024. The second thing I wanted to talk about was that the space recently had its 1-year anniversary, as of August 1st, just 2 weeks ago. So, though we haven't been hosting meetups for a year, those began in mid-November, I have been renting the place for a full year, so to me it's 1 year. I really saw the space as equal parts a place to play dance games and a place for the local community to gather, and those two were equally important to me. Some of my sub-goals or philosophical pillars, things that were really important to me, the things that informed how I went about creating a space, I want to talk about those. First off, it was crucially important to me that the space be free, that it be not-for-profit. I not charge to play, I not charge a membership fee, that anyone who came to play dance games or hang out could do so for free. The second goal was that I wanted to give my best effort to see that this was open to the general dance game public of Pittsburgh. I didn't want it to become like a private meetups only. I didn't want to be like a small clique of friends. It was important to me to make this a available resource to Pittsburgh dance gamers, and on both those counts, keeping it free, keeping it open, I think I've been successful on both of those so far, and that makes me pretty happy. So, that leaves the future of the space to talk about. If you were at the most recent meetup a few days ago, you heard me talk about this a bit already. You know, running a large time and resource intensive dance game project for a community, this is not my first time doing it. For 7 years, I was the lead developer of the Simply Love theme for Stepmania. While there were many things about that project that I am happy with and proud about, there were certainly things I could have done better. So I took some of the things that I could have done better in Simply Love, and I helped them inform how I would go about building and designing and leading the space. One of those things is that I needed to build an end date for myself leading the space in from the very beginning. So when I was setting out, touring locations, seeing different places, negotiating lease terms, in my mind I always knew that I wanted to rent the space for 2 years. You know, my lease here started August 1st of 2023. That ended up getting a bit complicated because of 3 or 4 months of mold remediation work. That appears in that corner. You can see sort of a snippet of it in the montage video that I did. So even though I've been paying rent since August 1st, 2023, my official lease didn't begin until February 1st of 2024. You know, if we think of February as the start date of this lease, I'm about 6 months in. I've got about 18 months to go. And when the end of January 2026 rolls around, I am not planning on renewing my lease. At that point, I will have done what I wanted to do. I will have built a good thing, I hope, I think. And at that point, I will be done. That said, if you, or perhaps a small team of you, feel that in the next 18 months, you think you're in a position to take over the space, to lead the space, to continue to host meetups, I'd love to work with you to help make that happen. As the second thing about Simply Love that I didn't do very well was plan or even attempt any sort of proper handoff of the leadership responsibilities. I'm going to be done in 18 months, but if you think you can, let's talk. Basically, I would be happy to give you all of the hardware. It will already be set up, the space will be configured. The social room over there has lots of furniture. It has a fridge. It has a TV with a retro gaming station. This hardware is not the important part to me. The community is, to me, vastly more important, and so I don't mind giving all this away. With that being said, I'm not looking to just give all this stuff away to anyone. Those two goals that I talked about, the space being free and the space being open, those are critically important to me. So I would need to have a level of trust with you to keep the space running for free, to not make it for profit, to not charge memberships, and separately, to continue to keep meetups running for the general dance game Pittsburgh public. If right now you're thinking, well, 5 free dance game setups, I gotta do anything I can to get those, that's probably not the right way to be thinking about it, because the crux of this is paying rent. It's negotiating with the building owner on when pipes start to leak. It's the leadership of running a meetup and making sure that the community is safe. And it's really not 5 free dance games. Also worth mentioning, if I do find someone and I pass all this off to you and I later find out that you've turned it into a business or you've closed it off to private meetups only, I will come back as a ghost and haunt you till the end of your days. But with all that said, we've still got 18 months to go. That's a good long while. I'd love to work with you. I'd love to pass off the responsibility and see this place continue to grow and the Pittsburgh dance games continue to flourish. And if that doesn't happen, we'll do our best not to be sad that it was over, but happy that it happened. Thanks for taking a bit to listen to me today. I hope we can share a dance in the near future.